I haven't heard from him. It's live. It's live. Yes.
All right. Good morning, everyone from Lagos, Nigeria. Not from Abeokuta, Nigeria. So if you want to welcome, you're welcome. Please do well to share the live if you're watching us today, and also tell us where you're watching us from. It is a beautiful morning in the city of Abeokuta, the capital of Ogun State, and the land of the old money. Please, Michael, let me know if you are having issue with my audio. Okay?
I can hear you. I can hear you. It's fine. It's fine.
Amazing, amazing. So, Michael, I would introduce myself first, and then you go second. Why I tell people where I am and what's happening here, and what Gtext doing here. So I go first. Like I said earlier, if you're watching us today, do well to share the live, drop your name, and let us know where you're watching us from. My name is Jessica Martins, and I'm privileged to be the branch manager for Gtext Homes Abeokuta. I said earlier, this is the city of the old money. This is where the old money is. And this is the capital of the state. Why would anyone not want to be here? Michael, are you blushing on my behalf? All right, so you can quickly introduce yourself before I start, Michael.
All right. Michael Shenkoya Esquire. The acting company secretary for Gtext Holdings. I'm presently at the headquarters. So it's nice to have you guys here.
All right, so quickly, I would be telling the people watching us online, people watching us right now, I'll be telling them where I am. This place that I am standing is in Abeokuta, and this particular place is called Adedero. Now, GTEX homes, we all know there is housing deficit in Abeokuta already. People are already moving to Abeokuta. If you want peace of mind, people are already leaving Lagos because of the congestion, and they are coming to Abeokuta. So that is why GTEX homes, we have strategically positioned ourselves in this to bring you the very first of its kind, Beru Polo Estate Abeokuta. Now, I'll be giving you brief about this estate so you have an idea of what this estate is all about. Beru Polo Abeokuta here is located
All right, guys. It seems my counterpart network is very bad. Prior to the time she's here, I think I should talk about documentation in a real estate. Now, a lot of people do ask questions like, what are the documents you need to know when it comes to real estate business? Real estate is all about spotting, acquiring properties, but there are some documents you need to familiarize yourself with. Do you understand? There are some red flags you need to identify when it comes to documents as a real estate. Now, the document associated with real estate is one, we have survey plan. Now, survey plan is always prepared by a registered surveyor. When I mean a registered surveyor, in Nigeria, we have a list of surveyors which is kept at the Surveyor General's office. Do you understand? So the registered surveyor prepare a survey plan. Now, most times people think that the survey plan can convey interest in land, and which is not true. A survey plan is just a document evidencing the boundaries in your land. Now, let's assume you acquire a property, which is, let's say, acquire a property worth 1 acre of land. Now, on that acre of land, you have boundaries. Your boundary can be a particular place facing the main road. Some might be facing another land. So the survey plan is a document that evidences the boundaries on the land. Do you understand? So survey plan does not convey interest in a property. It is just a document that is prepared by the registered surveyor. I think she's here. Let's hear from our own here. Jessica, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now,
Yes, I can
Jessica?
hear you. Apologies, I was having my net span, so I can go on.
Okay, you can go on, please.
Can I?
Yes,
Can
yes.
I? Yeah, you. Oh, can I go on?
Yes, you can. You can. You can.
Okay, so I apologize for the internet. Um, issue I was having earlier. So I just spoke about three things, and the first one is property in the real polo estate. Then looking beautiful is coming. Am I not looking beautiful? Make sure you can hear
Yeah, your network is
talking
very
and nobody.
bad.
Can you?
Your yeah, your network is bad, but then I can hear you. Oh, so I think she's off again. She's off. That will be network glitch. All right. As I was saying, we'll also have certificate of occupancy. Now, what is certificate of occupancy? A lot of people do say C of O, C of O, but then not everyone understand what C of O means. I think she's there again. Okay, Jessica, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I was calling out for you earlier, but I think you cannot hear me because of the network. Is it better now?
All right, now it's fine. Yes, it is.
All right, so I'll just stay here. I was trying to show people around. I'm sure that was why the network was having issues. So I'll just stay here. So I said I'll be talking about three
Okay.
things. The first one is the benefits of investing in Berry Polo Abeokuta. Then the second thing is the landmark. You need to know where you're buying. You need to know the people you'll be living around. It's very, very important before you invest in landed property. And then the last one is the juiciest part of this whole thing. That's the offer for the day. So I'll start with the benefits. The number one benefit that everybody wants to know about buying a property here is that you get over 300 to 500 return on investment. And I'll tell you why I say that. Now um I mentioned location earlier. For you to be sure that your property you get return on investment on your property, you want to know the development around the axis. Like this particular place, give this place like a year from now, you would have made over 300 to 500 return on investment. And a typical example was when we're launching here. When we're launching these estates, we started selling for 2 million naira and people took advantage. And I'm sure that was early this year, late last year, and people took advantage. Today, the people that bought this place for 2 million naira, they've made over 300% return on investment without doing anything. So buying a property here, you are sure that you're going to have 300% return on investment. That's one. Now, I mentioned the name of this place earlier. I said this is Beru Polo Estate. Another advantage is that once you buy a plot here, you become a member of the Polo Club for life. Can I repeat that? Once you have a property here, Michael, please let me know if you can still hear me. Michael, can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Amazing, amazing.
Yes, I
So
can hear you.
I said, when you buy a property here, you become a member of the Polo Club for life, and it's free of charge. Who are the people that play polo?
Wow.
The elite. The elite are the people that play polo. You cannot see somewhere that has not eaten playing polo. And that takes me to the second thing I want to talk about, the landmarks. Now, this beautiful place, I said it at Gtext, there's something about us positioning ourselves in a strategic location. It is directly facing the express. I will turn. I hope my internet will not mess up. So this is the express. This express right here is called the Shagam Abeokuta Express Road. This express is called Shagam Abeokuta. It's like the major road here in Abeokuta. And you can see opposite me there,
Well, I think Jessica's network is bad again. All right, as I was saying, I will talk about solver plan. Another thing I would like to talk about is C of O. A lot of people will say what is C of O, C of O, but then not everyone understands the meaning of certificate of occupancy. I think Jessica is here again. Jessica, can you hear me? Jessica, can you hear me? All right, while we wait for Jessica, now, as I was saying, prior to the advent of the Land Use Act in 1978, a lot of people do acquire property without having the title document. So, upon the enactment of the Land Use Act in 1978, all lands are vested in the hands of the governor. What it means is that the governor has the absolute right and interest over a parcel of land. So, now what came up with the issue of certificate of occupancy is now, we usually have people who claim to own land. In Nigeria, they refer them to them as omonile. Do you understand? So when you want to acquire a property, you need to get the governor's consent. So upon getting the governor's consent, you get a certificate of occupancy. Now, this certificate of occupancy gives you the autonomy to own a land for the period of 99 years. 99 years. Do you understand? So, and that is why you see that in Gtext, we ensure that all these documents are being processed so that when you want to acquire the property, you would not have any issue. So, the certificate of occupancy that you apply for, which you have, it's going to last for 99 years. So it means that the governor owed interest over a parcel of land. Do you understand? For 99 years. So upon the attainment of the certificate of occupancy, it means that the land belongs to you for 99 years. So after the expiration of 99 years, you are expected to renew your certificate. Now, another thing I would like to talk about is power of attorney. Power of attorney is also associated with land. Now, power of attorney is an instrument of instruction that is given to someone to act on his behalf. Now, let's say, for instance, you own a parcel of land or you own a property and you want to be traveling abroad and you want someone to be in trust of that property. Now, the document you will issue to that person is what we call power of attorney. Now, power of attorney cannot transfer interest except it is made by deed and registered. Do you understand? So another document I want to talk about that is associated with real estate property is deed of assignment. Now, deed of assignment is a document that evidences the transfer of ownership from the assignor to assignee. Now, the assignor is the person who owns the property, and the assignee is the person who is buying. Now, like we have vendor and purchaser. So the assignor is the person selling the property, while the assignee is the person buying the property. And that is why in Gtext forms, when you buy a property, you are expected to pay for your documentation. Now, the documentation you are paying for enables you to have the absolute interest. That means that even if you own a land and you don't have a deed of assignment, it means the land does not belong to you. So upon the attainment of that deed of assignment, it helps you to claim ownership over the land. So the deed of assignment transfers ownership from the assigner to the assignee. Do you understand? So another thing I would like to talk about is contract of sale. Now, when you're talking about contract of sale is a document evidencing the land transaction, which is done pending the time you pay. So what it means is that if you are paying instrumental, if you are making instrumental payment, you're not going to be entitled to deed of assignment because you are still paying. So the document that will be drafted at that point in time is contract of sale. So contract of sale is a document that evidences land transaction pending the time the assignee do what pays. So in contract of sale, we have the vendor and we have the purchaser. Who is the vendor? The vendor is the person who is selling, while the purchaser is the person who is buying. Do you understand? So all these are things you need to know. Another thing you need to know is gazette. When you hear a statement that the land has been published by the government, do you understand? So gazette has to do with a publication that is made by the government over a parcel of land. Now, for instance, let me give you an example. In Ibadan, for instance, we have Ilututun. Ilututun was actually part of the government acquisited area. That is, it falls under government acquisition property. So, and this is what the government does. When a land is being acquired by the government, what they do is they publicize it so that people would not buy and people would not go ahead to sell the land. So there's always a caveat on that property that government acquires. So all these are done through publication. That is why we have Gazette. So Gazette is a publication made by the government whether a land has been acquired or excised. Do you understand? Now let's talk about excision. Now you must have been hearing about the term excision. What's excision all about? Excision is a procedure whereby a government releases certain part of land that has been acquired to some families. Now, there are situations whereby a government can acquire 10 acres of land. So when they acquire 10 acres of land, and maybe the family, they acquire 10 acres of land from family with a sole purpose of using it maybe for aviation purpose, or maybe for land banking, or maybe for agriculture, and so on and so forth. So the family, they decide to apply. So when they apply and for certain part of the hectares of land, and their wish was granted. Now, this is where excision comes in. The government will now cut some parts for them. Now, let's say out of 10 acres, 3 acres was released to the family. So that part that was released to the family is what we call excision. Do you understand? So the difference between acquisition and excision is that the government at times acquire property and excision has to do with release. Do you understand? Then all this must be in the Gazette. So another document I would like to talk about is deed of mortgage. Now, what is deed of mortgage? Deed of mortgage is usually a property, it's usually a document that evidences loan transactions. Now, you see sometimes a real estate investor can decide that he wants to use his land as sort of mortgage. Do you understand? So what happens is the document evidences the loan transaction. So when the document evidences the loan transaction, it means that you are transferring absolute interest over the property to the mortgagor. Do you understand? So having said all of this, you should understand that deed of mortgage is a way of evidencing a loan transaction over a landed property. Now, in a situation whereby you have fulfilled the terms and conditions in the deed of mortgage, that is, you paid up the money, the document that will be given to you is what we call deed of release. So that deed of release, after it has been issued to you, shows that you are not owing anyone. So most times people do not understand, and that is why you need to be part of this program, and that is why you need to share this program. And that is why you need to share this program so that you can have knowledge. A lot of people, even real estate investors, are not familiar with all those things. At times, some people would acquire property and feel like, oh, I've been given a survey plan. So what do you do with a survey plan? Oh, I have a survey plan. It means I'm the owner of the land. So all these are not right. Do you understand? So you need to understand the basis of documentation. Documentation is very, very compulsory, important when it comes to acquiring property. A lot of investors feel like, oh, I've paid for my land, there's no need for documentation. Documentation is important, then developmental fee is also important. So when, let's say, for instance, if you are buying an estate, and of course, you need to develop, even when you are coming, the place needs to develop. So the payment of that documentation shows that you are acquiring the property. It is not just the payment for the property that makes you the owner of the property, but the documentation. And like I said the other time, the deed of assignment is a document that evidences transfer of the property from the assignor to assignee. So thank you very much for watching. I don't know if my counterpart will be here. So another thing I would like to talk about is deed of gift. There are situations. Let me create a scenario, maybe a scenario between a father and a child. Now, let's say there are situations whereby maybe you promise your child that, oh, when you graduate with first class, when you come back from United States, this is what I'm going to give you 10 hectares of land. So the question is, what document do you need to draft in that aspect? Now, the document you need to draft in that aspect is deed of gift. Deed of gift. Now, what is deed of gift? Deed of gift is a document that evidences voluntary transfer of property from the person transferring it to the beneficiary without any sort of consideration. So what we're saying here is that if someone is giving out a land under this title, it means that you are entitled to that property without any consideration. You know, when you are acquiring a property, you definitely need to pay consideration, which is the money you are paying. Do you understand? So a deed of gift need not to have consideration. Another thing I would like to talk about documentation when it relates to property law transaction is lease. Now, there's difference between lease and tenancy. Lease are transactions that are above 3 years. Now, let's assume you want to acquire a property and you want to use it for more than 3 years and above. Now, the document you need to draft is deed of lease. Do you understand? So, deed of lease is like a transaction, like transferring, you're not transferring ownership, you're only transferring possession, yeah, for period which is more than 3 years. Then on the other hand, you have tenancy, like the normal landlord and tenant you have. Do you understand? So this is drafted for people who pays rent below 3 years, 3 years and below. Do you understand? So all these gamut of documents are very, very necessary for real estate brokers, investors, and business owners. Because if you're not familiar with all these documents, you can, of course, you will not even understand real estate as it is. So that is why, as an investor, you need to pay attention. And let me tell you one thing you need to understand about these documents is that even you as an investor, you should understand that at times when someone is investing in land, feel like, oh, I've paid for the land. There's no need for me to pay for documentation. What's the documentation? You need to, because it's very, very important. I used to say it, even as a lawyer, I do advise people, documentation is very, very crucial. It's very, very crucial. You need to pay up for it. And that is why in Gtext, we do advise our clients that you should pay for documentation, because documentation is just that evidence that shows that you own the land. So even if you are buying 10 acres, you need to pay for that documentation, because the documentation shows that the land is being transferred from the owner to you, and that makes you the owner of the land. So thank you very much for joining. I don't know if Jessica will be here. If you have any question, you can drop your questions in the chat section so that I can be able to respond to it. If you have any question, feel free to ask me. So if you have any question, you're free to ask me questions. All right, I'm not getting any questions from anyone. So guys, thanks so much for joining us. It's really nice having you guys here. Thank you very much.
During the time of our colonial master, Abeokuta was one of the oldest states in Nigeria that embraced large agricultural trade.
Are you joining? Did you join the live? Okay. No, I did live avec. I'll call you. So,
Ogun State Tech Up, and so on. As you can see, owning a service plot here automatically makes you a member of the Polo Club.